Okay, so hopefully things are holding together here. Not really pleased with some of the changes Facebook has made to live streaming. It's making it a little bit difficult for me to actually monitor the live stream in real time. So I'm going to rely on you guys a little bit to let me know if things get off kilter. I think I'm going to try and pull it up on my phone and just to make sure that that everything remains copacetic. It's killing me. All right, one last time, can we confirm that we've got good voiceover commentary coming out on the live stream? Okay, so hopefully things will hold together, as I've said. So what we're doing today is we're going to talk about the Elgato Stream Deck. Hopefully, some of you guys are familiar with the product. Obviously, this is it here, right over on the second camera there. So, like I said, hopefully things will hold together. It seems like I'm pushing the performance boundaries with two cameras wired up right now. So hopefully it'll hold together. So this is the product over here, right over on the second camera. What the Stream Deck is basically a control deck to utilize in your live stream. So if you're familiar at all with kind of TV productions or even or even studio productions, right, in front of like a live audience, right? This is similar to some of those pieces of equipment that has just been made hyper-specific to support live streams and games. So it's obviously made by Elgato. It is obviously therefore not cheap. If you are familiar with the word around the biz, you know obviously Elgato has been acquired by Corsair over the last couple of months. So this is a 15 key control deck. And thanks a lot, Tyler, for the quality feedback. I appreciate that. This is a 15 key control deck. Give me just 1 second. Okay, they have since also made a smaller version that has 6 keys that is less expensive. So this piece of equipment goes for about $150. The 6 key one can be found for $85 in general. Sometimes it's been on sale. I think I've seen it sometimes for as low as $65. So and what this is really for is for those of us, because all streamers is not necessarily us, those of us who tend to either one of two things. It's really purpose-built around if you are a streamer who doesn't necessarily sit in front of their streaming PC. So for us console streamers, if you, like the way I am, so the workstation I'm seated at, my console kind of studio corner is on the other side of these monitors. So I try and get this workstation set up to push the stream, and then I get up and walk around and step behind these monitors, which is where I sit to play my console games. So I'm not sitting here in front of like the keyboard and all that. Also, though, for people who stream on the same PC that they're gaming on, I know, like probably a lot of you, I hate having to Alt Tab and Win Tab out of my game to get access to controls that I need to make an adjustment to the live stream while I'm in flight. So, because you have some games that don't do windowed borderless. When you have a game that supports windowed borderless, then you can drag the mouse directly across like dual monitors outside the game frame and access OBS and Twitch and all that stuff. But if it's a game that doesn't support windowed borderless, like recently I was playing Trackmania 2 Stadium, doesn't, well, that one actually does. There was some game I was playing that doesn't support window borderless game resolution and frame. And so when you have that, then you have to Alt Tab or Win Tab out. So this is great even for that. It's kind of counterintuitive because you feel like you would just sit in front of your PC and you would be fine because you have access to the keyboard and the mouse and all that. But to me, it's a pain because sometimes it disrupts the stream. The big issue is sometimes what it does is if you have a file open or something on your desktop that has data that you don't want your streaming audience to see, sometimes when you Alt Tab or Win Tab out, that stuff comes up in the arrow interface as panels that are displayed symmetrically around your screen and things like that. So it just gets messy. So if you have those types of use cases and those types of needs, you can buy this thing and it will help alleviate some of that and allow you to control your stream. So what we're going to do is we're going to pop, what I hope is going to happen is, because the resolution is so low, this thing on the, I can never point in the right direction. This thing over on the left-hand side of the stream is the application, the Elgato Stream Deck software. So it's a little difficult to see. So now that we're going to pop into the tutorial, I'm going to go ahead and try and resize it over the title and try and get it to show. Now, in order to do that, what I gotta do is, where's the blasted? This is the display capture. I'm gonna move the display capture to the top of OBS, so it's on top. And now it will occlude the title screen. And hopefully you can now see that a little better. Slade Smith! How you doing, Slade? So since Slade is in the house, what I got to do is I got to give him a little Formula One action here. And that's not actually working because I don't have the right audio tied to the right source. So, because I forgot that I have things, I have this thing laid out to Bluetooth. So we'll try that one more time. Okay, and that's a good example of the types of things that you can do with the Elgato Stream Deck. Hey, Craig Villarreal, thanks so much for joining in on the live stream. So what we're going to do, and this is going to be a lengthier tutorial, kind of as they always are with my Tech Talk. So if you have questions, you can definitely interject them. And let me know if you have specific questions. What we're going to do is, at great pain to myself, we are going to strip down, I think, every single one of these buttons and basically reconfigure the Stream Deck from the ground up. And like I said, I'm probably going to break a bunch of things that I have to fix, but this is what we do for the art, right? So this is the layout that you have. It shows all 15 buttons. When you bring up the Elgato Stream Deck application, it's best if you have OBS started first, because when the app comes up, it basically looks for OBS for integrated settings that it has to support it. If you bring the Stream Deck up before OBS is up, sometimes it's a little wonky. So Slade says, I'm going to have to rewatch this when I get home. I'm going to have to get me a deck soon. Yeah, man, absolutely. And as you know, all these are recorded for posterity, and I will also post a copy over my YouTube channel, so you can always get to it. So, like I said, I'm a little fearful of what I was going to do, but whenever you have buttons configured here, you can simply delete them by hitting this trash can icon. So, and it's going to probably ask me to confirm every single time. Hoping this doesn't kill my live stream. It doesn't. Now, the reason I said that is because the button that I just deleted was the button that I actually have to have configured to remote start the live stream itself. We're going to go over all these things so you guys can get a flavor. The main thing I wanted to do, one of the main things I wanted to do is a lot of people, when the topic of the Elgato Stream Deck comes up, the big problem is that they don't know or quite understand its capabilities. And it's hard to tell somebody about it verbally without actually showing them. So the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hold off on messing with this button because I'm going to actually use this as a demonstration of some of the capabilities at the end of the Tech Talk. And that's going to play some music that Facebook might pick up as copyright protected, and it might vault the DMCA AI. So I'm gonna hold off and do that till the end, so that if it just crushes the video entirely, at least by then I'll have recorded everything and I can repost it later, but it doesn't actually kick me off the live stream. I'm also gonna choose to not reconfigure my Twitter button right now, because that might be more of a pain in the butt than it's worth. So I'm gonna try and step back through everything that I had configured, so that you guys can see it. So first of all, you can connect multiple Stream Decks to a PC. I've actually ordered a couple more and have them on the way because I've run into use cases where I may want to have more controls configured than I can have laid out on the 15-button deck, and so I want to be able to use them in tandem. The other thing that's really good for is for me, and I suspect some of you are in this case also, I play on different platforms. Sometimes I'm playing one game on one platform, but then I have a collaboration session or a co-stream with another streamer on another platform. And I've gotten to the point where I just really dislike disconnecting the thing and taking it over to a different PC. And then when I go back to the other thing, then having to carry it back. And it's in that realm of stuff that can get messy. Hey, Doug, thanks so much for joining in on the live stream. I appreciate you joining in. So you can connect multiple Stream Decks, and it will keep them in memory. Again, I'm going to hold off on switching these right now because I've gotten into some weird situations where I've disconnected the Stream Deck and then brought it back, and then it's recognized it as a different Stream Deck, and I didn't really understand that. So I'm going to try and not blow up the tutorial here. Then you can have multiple profiles for a Stream Deck as well. So you can see here that I have my default profile copy. I can hit this plus button and create a new profile. Right, and then if you want, you can attach it to a specific application. So when that application launches, the Stream Deck profile kicks in. So I could hook this to OBS and just say, because I mentioned just now, that it's generally better to have OBS open and then open the Stream Deck application. I could just hook it to OBS so that whenever I did it, it did it automatically. You can set that as your designated default profile as well. Right, and then you have other functions down here. This is particularly handy. You can duplicate the profile. So let's say I want to have a second profile, but half the buttons, right, are the ones that I want to have from the other profile. I can just duplicate it, then delete half the profile buttons, and then just create new ones. I can also copy them too. So say if I do run multiple Stream Decks. So let's say I wanted to run multiple Stream Decks, but I have them at different stations. So I believe, I'm not absolutely positive, I believe what I can do is I can bring in one of the new Stream Decks that I have on order, connect it to here, copy the profile to the Stream Deck. I believe it's retained in onboard memory. I'm not absolutely positive, but I think I could then take it over to a different PC, connect it, and the first default profile that would come up would be the one that I copied. Or it would have that profile on it, and you might have to push it to become the new default. And then you can also import and export profiles. This is a thing that I need to get better at. I've been saying I've created a Dropbox folder where I have a lot of my stream configuration stuff. I need to get better about taking things like OBS scene configurations and things like this, the config files for the Stream Deck, and putting it in that Dropbox folder so that whenever I go to a different PC or whatever, it's there. That is a thing that I'm particularly bad at. So those are some of the ways that you can configure multiple Stream Decks and multiple profiles on a Stream Deck. I would say probably the more prevalent use of this is if you have a profile that works for a given service, or a profile that works for a particular gaming platform. Like you have a profile that you use when you're playing on Xbox, but you need a slightly different profile when you're playing on PC. You may want to have different profiles for that. And a good, for instance, on where that would make things would be made different is on my Xbox. I can have the streaming PC's desktop audio muted if I want to. And then for soundboards, I can hook that to an output. But let's just say, for general purposes, I can have the desktop muted, right? When I'm playing on Xbox, I don't have any need of any of the audio that's actually being produced on the streaming PC. Now, once I'm on a PC, let's say that I'm back on that PC and I'm streaming from the same PC that I'm gaming on. Now I need that desktop audio. But by the same token, if I flip over to my Be Right Back scene, or my stream is ending scene, or even my waiting to start scene, and the game is already up and running, I don't want the game audio. So like for my intermission scenes, I have like a song from a folder playing. So I want that song playing. I don't want the in-game audio playing for some of those intermission scenes. So when I'm in that scenario, I have a desktop is muted button, or mute desktop button, that I hit to kill the in-game audio. So let's go ahead and get started configuring this. We're going to come back to this gear wheel for some of the settings later. If you use Elgato's, I think it's still called Game Capture HD software. It might be called something else. It has integrated controls here for that. If you stream on Mixer, it has controls for chat message viewers, clear chat, stream game channels. So, I mean, you can see the things there. You can create a clip. Again, I used to stream to all the different services. I think you guys all know that story. I don't anymore. So again, another good use of multiple profiles, right? If you stream on Mixer sometimes, but then sometimes you're on Twitch or sometimes on Facebook, you can have different profiles for each service. Okay, so here's where we're going to start digging into the meat, right? OBS. Probably the primary way that I set this up, and you guys saw the ones. And typically I have different profiles, but I kind of have settled on to where there are certain controls that I tend to always position on certain segments or locations on the Stream Deck all the time. So for the first thing we're going to grab from here is scene. Now, as you can see, you hit these little arrows and they reveal drop downs, right? When you want to configure a button, all you do is you hook this with your left mouse button, and then you drag it over, and you drop it on the button where you want to configure it. It generally comes up with the default icon. You have other options for this. You hit this drop-down menu here. You can set the icon from a file, or you can create a new icon. So let's just say, for the sake of argument, I go set from file. Again, I hope this... So I have... So I have this folder called blog photos, right, that I make, for different days when I'm working on different stuff. Let's just say, for craps and giggles, I wanted to have, Agent 47 here as my background icon for that. I can double click that. That will bring that in as that icon, right? Pretty cool, right? Chris, thanks so much for joining in on the live stream. I appreciate you coming by. Other things you can do here, so you can create a new icon. I have actually not messed with that, so I don't actually know exactly what that does. Hopefully that doesn't blow crap up. It apparently is going to take me to, so you can, takes you to a URL where you can create an icon of your own, and you can bring in images and make text, and then add solid backgrounds, right? So again, pretty neat, pretty cool. I actually haven't messed with that all. And then what I suspect is it gives you either a download link or it allows you to maybe hook it by a URL. Again, I haven't spent any time messing with that. I mean, creating your own icons is a bit obsessive, I think, for the Elgato Stream Deck. But if you want to get into that, it's there. And then you could also then flip it back to the default, right? These two buttons below, it took me a long time to understand this. These actually give you two different views of the button, right? So, and as you can see on the Elgato itself now, right, as soon as I drag that over, it lit that control button up with that control. And it will continue to change as I update it. So on this scene, and these things are individually configurable, right? So you'll notice as we start working with some of the other fields that they will concurrently update, but then whenever you go in and make another change on an individual panel, it will be sticky just to that panel. So let's say I want to reset this one, so I can reset this to default. Now, it's up to you how you want to use them. They are not necessarily prescribed. Those two different panel views are not necessarily prescribed in doctrine in terms of the software. Generally, what I choose to do is I tend to have this be whatever the on state is for whatever control I'm going to set up. I make this the on state, and I make this the off state. So in the case of a scene, when that scene is not active, I tend to have it be this darkened state. Then if I push it and it's active, I want that button to be lit so that when I look at the control deck, I know that the scene that's actually active is the one that's lit, and then all the other scene control buttons that I've configured should be dulled out, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to title this my waiting. So this text box that I'm typing in, again, it took me a long time to figure this out because I didn't understand it right away. This text box, although it's one line, actually kind of it scales and has what's the term I'm looking for? It has carriage returns, just like if I was typing in Microsoft like Notepad or something, right? So meaning when I get to the end of the line here, I can hit a carriage return, and it's actually going to start a new line below it. So I'm going to call this my waiting to start scene, and I'm going to say waiting to start scene active, right? So you can see it differentiated between all caps, right? I mean, you have all of your normal kind of text editing capabilities in here. Now, this T drop down, when you hit that, there's a few things you can do. First of all, you can just not show the tile, right? The text tile, right? Then I can light it back up. So if I wanted, I could just have an icon, and that would be fine too. You can align it within the button as bottom alignment, middle alignment, top alignment. So you can put it in the middle, you can put it in the top, right? You can choose the font, right? So I can choose Wingdings, which make no sense unless you're C3PO. Symbol, same thing, doesn't make any sense. You can do sans serif, right? You can do all these, not a ton of different fonts, but you have a fair number of different fonts, right? So I'm going to choose Arial here. Here's a big thing. You can increase the font size, right? So hopefully you can see that resizing within the application. And generally what I try and do is I try and make this text as large as it can be while I can still read, right, the button. You can then choose to make it bold if you want to. You can set it to italics, and you can underline it. I generally tend not to mess with all these. I do resize it, like I said, to be as big as I can in the button. I don't really monkey too much with the font. Here's a thing that I've come to start using a lot, though, is this white on black with a white icon behind it is not necessarily the best or easiest thing to see. Again, you could choose to just make it all black behind here so that you don't have that white icon outline kind of messing with your visualization of it. However, I would say you can hit that button and it gives you this entire range of colors to select from, including the ability to add custom, or go in here or actually monkey with the HTML directly. You can come over here and put the cursor in the spectrum band, right, and turn it to that. Generally, what I have found is that one of the best colors for having your stuff show up is this kind of weird looking green. And if I want to really make it pop out, then I can make it bold. Right? So now I've configured all the text. You can make collections. I actually don't mess with this, so I'm actually not entirely certain what this is. I guess it's a grouping of configurations that you can set. It's like subfolders and stuff where you can go in and, like, I could have a scene collection and I could have all these buttons that I'm going to configure scenes for available in that folder. Here's the big thing, right? And what I'll say on this, lesson learned. If you go into OBS and monkey with your scenes, right? You create new scenes. Here's the big one. If you rename scenes, Stream Deck loses its connection between that button and that scene. So whenever you do that, you need to come back in here and see which scene it has moved to. Generally, it will move to grab the first one in your list in OBS. So I want this button to be my waiting to start screen. So that scene in OBS for me is called the stream is going to start, right? So now it's hooked to that button. Now, if I like to create alternative text on the second panel, right? So I will say waiting to start scene, and I say inactive, right? And now what you'll see, remember I mentioned that they'll start off in sync, but as you go in and then monkey with individual panels, and the other panel will remain the same. So you can have differentiated configs between each of the colors. So when we go back, this one now says active, and when it's not active, it'll be that, right? So what I'm going to do, and this should work without blowing anything up, I'm going to go ahead and hit this button so I take you to my waiting to start scene just for a few seconds. Then I'm going to pop it back. You probably won't be able to hear me on the microphone while the music is playing, but that should happen. Hold on one sec. Okay, so now I'm going ahead and I'm muting the music that I have configured as a source in that scene, and you can see that pushing that button took me to my waiting to start scene, and then I'm just going to manually push it back over to the to my main scene. So give me 1 second. Okay, so that should give you a feel for how you can use the Stream Deck to configure scenes. So I'm going to go ahead now and just configure the rest, right? And generally what I do is I have one configured for waiting to start, and I'm not going to be as hyper-specific. Maybe I am. So this is like my April main scene active. Right, and I am, again, I'm going to align it to center. I'm going to increase the font to be relatively as big as I can. I'm going to change the color to be baby green. I am then going to select from the drop down my April 2019 main scene. Right, then I'm going to differentiate my text on here. Sometimes what I'll do is instead of saying active, inactive, I will say activate April main scene, right? And now whenever I push that button, that'll take me from whatever scene I'm in to the scene, well, not the scene we're on right now. It's actually a different scene. Then I can do the same thing here. And I will configure this to be my, I'll say, BRB scene active. Right, align it to middle, blow it up as big as I can, update the color so it's highly visible. Right, and hopefully the other thing you're noticing is as I configure each of these, right, you can see them on the Stream Deck itself illuminating, right, 1, 2, 3, as I configure each of these buttons. All right, and again, if I wanted to, I could pick a slightly different font. Right, so BRB scene active, hook the actual BRB scene name in OBS, switch over to the other panel. So hopefully one of the things you're seeing is if you've ever felt like it's a pain in the butt to switch scenes while you're doing your live stream, you can see how this is easier. And you can see how this is easier, again, even if you are streaming from the same PC that you're gaming on, because again, once this is done, then I don't have to monkey around with a bunch of alt-tabbing and win-tabbing in and out. So we'll go here. The other thing is there's no save button for each of these, so just however you set it is whatever it's going to be until... right, I mean, it's whatever it's going to be until you come back and change it later. So as you type things in, you can then shift to do whatever. There's no save button that you have to hit. All right, so what's the other one? So I need to do a activate end scene. Right, because I have a scene that plays as an outro for the end of all of my live streams. And that scene is called "The Stream Has Ended." Again, I'll go in here to text, line it up in the middle, increase the font. I see that I've made an error in the text that I've entered as far as my standard schema. Right. Now again, so I just did Shift Home, and you can see it jump the cursor all the way to the left and grabbed all the text. I hit Control X, right? So, and then enter, and then Control V. So all your normal Windows, Microsoft Office keyboard shortcuts also work within this app. So that's a very good thing. Dang it. It's actually not what I wanted to do. Active, right? Yeah, end scene active. Okay, then I'll flip over here, and this is where I'll say activate end scene. And drop the font down a bit. Okay, so I think that's all good. Now, the reality is we're actually on a scene right now that I don't normally use in my live stream, so I'm not going to configure a button for this hardware review scene. Generally, whenever I use that scene, I'm always in front of my PC and I have my hands available, so we're not going to worry about that. Probably the next most important control that I typically configure are these mixer audio buttons. So a lot of my mics, they have hardware controls on them, so I can mute the mic with hardware. But generally, I guess I prefer to mute the mic in the OBS controls themselves. So, and I'm currently playing on PlayStation 4, so I'm going to configure a lot of this for that, since I do have to put this thing back for my live stream tonight. So again, this is I will say mic. So this is one where I say so this is kind of the opposite, right? Because I want it to be bright if the mic is hot, if the mic is on, and I want it to be grayed out if the mic is muted. So here I call this button mute mic. Update the color, increase the font. Again, I can change it. So this is all the, what appears here is all the audio sources that I currently have configured in OBS. Right? And I just want to select mic aux, right? Which is where I have my Samson Meteor mic. So then the way I normally title this is mic is muted. Okay? And you can see from the way I've titled that I need to drop the font back. Right? So what should happen now is when I push this button, you should see me talking but not be able to hear me. Same button again. Okay, so what I was saying, which hopefully you didn't hear me say, is when I hit that mute mic button and you look over in your OBS panel, you can actually see that audio source within the audio mixer panel within OBS go to mute. Verifying that you're not actually, even though the mic is still on and I haven't dorked with the hardware control on the mic, that audio source has been strangled in OBS. So now, again, if I were on the PC and I were streaming from the same PC that I'm gaming on, another button that I would configure here is the desktop mute button, and I would configure it the same way. And that would be how I would strangle the in-game audio from playing on top of like an MP3 media source, or like in my BRB screen, generally I will have a browser panel where I'm playing it cuts to one of my YouTube videos at a specific time and index within the YouTube video. So when I cut to BRB, I hit the desktop mute button so that the game doesn't play. Sometimes that doesn't work depending on where you have your audio sources from. So the other thing you can do is just, you just have to mute the game or minimize the game or do something so that the in-game audio isn't playing out over whatever your desktop audio output is. The other buttons that I like to definitely have here, and another thing that you can do is once you configure this button as such, you can now move it, right? And it takes all of the configuration that you've had along with it. And so just because I move it, I don't have to monkey with it. What I haven't found is I haven't seen where these will swap, and that's unfortunate because a lot of times I have two buttons configured and I actually want to, when I have the array fully populated, and what I actually want to do is move position so that one's a little more intuitive as to where it's located. Holy cow, they do swap. That's got to be a new feature because I was just in this like last week and they didn't swap. When you pull it over, what it used to do is it used to tell you, hey, do you want to delete the other one? So that is awesome because generally I always have the entire control deck configured. But then, like I said, I want to move a thing so it's in a smarter place for me during production. So the other two buttons that I tend to like to configure out of the OBS Studio is the stream, right? And generally, so what this button does is already set by Stream Deck and OBS, so you don't have to tell it what to do. But you can just fill out the button title. Stream is live. If you've ever been in like a recording studio or a broadcast booth or anything like that, you know, this is the nearest thing you can have to like reminding you that your stream is live. So you see all these YouTube videos and Twitter posts and everything about streamers who thought that their stream was off and they wound up doing something that they probably didn't want to be doing on live stream. So this is a helpful thing for situational awareness. And I'll just call this start the live stream. And again, the reason I'm being so thorough, guys, is because I actually just had a friend who got an Elgato Stream Deck. and on my recommendation. And she got in. She was like, I have no idea how to use this thing. Like, I've gone out and looked at other videos, and like, they skip pieces, and like I can't follow it. So I'm trying to make a pretty thorough video that covers everything, and then so I can post it to YouTube. But it's also here for you guys. And again, if you're in chat and you have specific questions, let me know. Thanks, Tyler Brook. Yeah, I think you said nice when you saw me do the swap of the button, and yeah, that is pretty cool because that has not been there the whole time, at least not that I knew of. So this is my stream is that right? Stream is live. Yeah, because I wanted to start the live stream and then tell me that it's live. So the other button, because what I do is I also always concurrently record my live streams. So I always like configure with, and generally my motif is because sometimes I start the live stream and like I have to go bring in the dog or set the house alarm or whatever, or I get interrupted or something pops off on social media, and like I go to that, the stream will be starting soon screen, and then but then I don't actually start the live stream right away. What I used to have happen was I would have these really long like intro things in my recordings. So now what I do is I start the live stream and then I hold off on starting the recording until like 30 seconds before I'm actually going to go live. So when I post the thing to YouTube, I have just enough of that intro to make it feel like a semi-professional recording, and then it fades into the actual live stream. So I'll put that recording is active, and I'll make this start the recording. Yeah? Okay. I'm going to cover this source thing here in a minute because it's actually one of the more powerful things to do, but it's like the use case for it it's powerful enough that I don't use it that frequently. This is one of my favorite things if you guys have ever been in my live stream or if you were in this tutorial earlier. I also like to use soundboards for different things during my live stream. So this, you drag it over, you hit play audio. What you can do is you hit that button, and this, I will now go to this folder where I have a bunch of soundboards saved off, right? And we'll put the airplane landing one on there. Great. It auto titles it. If you want to make this a little nicer, you can. I'm not going to worry about that right now. Right? It automatically configures for play stop. Slade likes to complain about this, but I always raise the volume level up high to make absolutely certain that people hear it, and hopefully invoke a comment from my viewers, which helps me in confirming that the soundboard actually went off. If I'm streaming from the same PC that I'm gaming on, I can hear these sounds, so I can play with them. But when I'm on like a console, I hit the soundboard, I can't hear it, right? So, because I always turn the speakers off on my streaming PC whenever I'm streaming for a console, so that if some goofy Windows alert or something goes off, that can't be heard over my open air mic, right? So and that's pretty simple. That's all you have to do to get a soundboard in. So we're going to go ahead and configure another one. And generally, although with these buttons I start with the title, with this I just go grab the file since I know that it will self-title it based on the file name, right? Okay, now those are configured, so I do want to go ahead and situate this in the middle. So if you bear with me a little bit for some of the loud noises, let's go ahead and fire those off. Hopefully these will work. And if you can see on the buttons, what happens is when the sound is active, you get this little sound wave audio meter. and then when it ends, it stops. So even though when you're playing on a console, like I said, I can't hear it, I get a visual indication that when the file plays and when it ends. And let's play the Alien spaceship one. Okay, so pretty cool. I really like using soundboards. It's an easy way to kind of spice up your live stream and have some audio in the thing besides just your own voice. So we'll kill that. If you wanted to, you can configure things for the Stream Deck itself. I haven't really dug into a lot of these or don't really fully understand why you would need the create folder button in the middle of a live stream. But let's say, what we talked about is how you can configure different profiles up here. Let's say you had buttons on another profile, right? This might be a more cost-effective way than doing what I did, which is buy a second Stream Deck. So you could just configure it to, say, switch profile, which is basically make it kind of work like a shift button. You could hit that button, switch to the other profile. You'd have 14 different keys then available, and then you could switch back. This multi-action one allows you to execute multiple actions, and I think, yeah, so you saw it gives you a little tutorial if you hover over it. Probably the one that I use the most because, and I'm just recently getting back to this, I will use, so I will do game captures instead of always doing live streams. So I will have my days that are not part of my live stream schedule that I will play games, but I won't have a live audience, but I'll still want to capture that video. Again, for me, I push that video to my YouTube channel. Sometimes I archive it for later use to Blu-ray or a hard drive. And when I do that, I tend to want to use a timer, right? Because my YouTube channel viewers have told me that like the optimal time for a gameplay video for them is between 30 and 45 minutes. That allows them to sometimes say watch it like on their lunch break. So you can configure this as a timer, and you can either configure it for a period of time, or I'm pretty sure it will just work as a clock. So let me, if you start it, nope, it's just a countdown timer. So I think, and then you can stop it. And then it gives you a sound as well. Yeah, okay, right. So yeah, so you can configure it. So let's say I want to play for 30 minutes, right? And it's in seconds. So this is that 1,800 seconds? Is 30 minutes, right? So then if I want to start the timer, it puts 30 minutes on the clock, right? And then starts counting me down from there. Right? And that's what I'll use when I'm doing a game capture. Then I can look at that and be updated on the time. Again, I tend to not use that for live streams, but if I wanted to use that switch profile button, a really good use for that would be if I had a profile for live streams versus a profile for game captures, right? So right on a game capture one, maybe I wouldn't have this live stream start button configured. Maybe that would be the one where I would have the desktop audio button configured. Actually, as I'm talking through this, I'm realizing there are some things I'm going to change because one of my struggles is sometimes I do reconfigure because I'm, streaming on the same PC I'm gaming on versus playing on a console. And now I'm just realizing as I'm doing this tutorial that I could have been doing that as a separate profile this whole time. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that button for now because I don't generally use it. You could configure for this brightness thing, but quite honestly, generally, I just ramp up the brightness on this thing all the way. If you need to see where that control is, under the General tab under Preferences, you can raise the brightness. Now, I have it turned down because when it's really bright, you can't see it on the web camera. But generally, I will turn it up all the way and just leave it. You can set this to sleep. And I thought it had a dimmer, but I guess when you set it to sleep, that'll just turn the panel off. Now, what the Stream Deck will also do is it will also put the panel to sleep whenever your PC goes to sleep. So whenever my monitors turn off, which is, I think I've generally configured for like 5, 10, or like 15 minutes, the Stream Deck will turn off so you're not sitting there kind of burning the screen while you're doing that. Okay, for all you StreamLabs and StreamLabs OBS people, I'll just pop these open so you can see them. I don't use StreamLabs or StreamLabs OBS, so yeah, like I'm kind of sort of mildly familiar with this stuff, but I am not an SME on this. So you can skip alert, mute alert, pause alerts, spin wheel, I don't know what the heck that is, show media, right? And then if you use StreamLabs OBS, same thing. You can change the scene, do what I did with the, being able to mute the mic, record the stream, start, and source. I tend not to use any of these system things, but you can. Again, I don't really necessarily know why you would use any of these. David, thanks so much for joining in the live stream. Or Daniel, sorry. Thanks so much for joining in the live stream. I appreciate it. Again, guys, this is a long, thorough, deep dive tutorial. So if you have any questions while I'm going along, please ask them. I am not a big enough streamer to be able to sign up for tips and donations, as far as I understand. So I'm not super familiar with Tippy Stream. I use Player Me for overlays, and I know that has a Tippy Stream integration with it. So you can use that if you are so inclined. Here is a big one that I use. So let's go ahead at this point and talk about account integration. Hopefully I can do this without revealing any super secret data. But you can attach accounts to the Stream Deck application so that you can configure some of these buttons that are that feature integrations with web services, web-based services, right? So in accounts, and I'm not going to reconfigure them because they're already set up. But you can see, right, that I have my Twitter account configured, and if I want to, I can go to open Twitter. I can open Twitter from that account. What I am going to do, I hope I can do this. Hate doing this. Okay, so that worked without revealing any data, I don't think. Now I'm actually going to close this so I don't have to worry about that. So I'm actually going to take this opportunity to attach this to my Twitch account, which will be great for the tutorial. So you can add it. As you can see, it has integrations with Mixer, StreamLabs, Tippy Stream, Twitch, and Twitter, and YouTube. So we're going to connect to Twitch. You can see it comes up here. This is the Player Me integration stuff, so that's popping up on there. You can see it comes up with their login screen to Twitch. I'm actually going to take this out of the tutorial panel to do my login. Okay, and now you can see it's right there, right? I don't think, I thought maybe, I thought it would open up a browser window. It apparently didn't. So yeah, so that's how you integrate your accounts, right? So one of the things that I will sometimes do, it's quite honestly, it's been the only thing. Also, there's been a recent update to this, and I can see that they have added some additional integrations in here. But you can have it show your viewer count, clear the chat window out, play an ad. In your Twitch panel, right, there's an expanded view that can display your stream and game title in your chat window, or in the main window once you're already live. You can hit this button to pop into your sub chat, slow your chat down, open up your followers chat, emote chat. Here's one big one, right? Like, right, we would all typically, when most of us are streaming, it's really hard to off ladder and go out of the game window to be able to create a clip, but you can do that here. So one of the things that I sometimes will do is do this chat message thing, and what I will sometimes do is I will create messages. Now I have bots configured now to do some of this stuff, so it is not as much of a pain, but sometimes every once in a while it changes, or I will want to, I may want to point people to a specific video that I've put on my YouTube channel, right? So, so I'll call this Twitch YouTube announce, right? And what I'll put in here is I'll say, because this is a message that I actually normally configure. So I'll say, like, did you know that Elgato does hardware reviews of everything that streamers need to create engaging? Right, then I can paste a link in, right? And now what it'll do is whenever I am live, I mean, quite honestly, you can do it any time, right? Because that chat window is kind of open there all the time in your Twitch account. But when I'm live, what I will periodically do is I'll hit this button, and then it'll make an announcement for my YouTube channel in the live stream. Sorry, I was away from the chat window a little bit, so... thanks so much, Arturo and Thomas, for joining in. I appreciate you. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them. Again, this is a long-form tutorial, and we are getting sweaty with all the details, so we are diving deep, because I'm only going to do this once. I mean, I may do this again, but my point is my intention is not to have to record, like, 5 tutorial videos. I'm just doing it all in one fell swoop. So the other thing that you can do with Twitch, again, maybe all these are useful for you. They aren't particularly useful for me. But you can, again, that elusive, complicated thing of... Now, also notice that unlike the other buttons here, right, where we had 2 panels for a button, these one-shot buttons... that things that you're only going to push one time, right? This button has 2 panels still because I can use the button to both stop the stream and start the stream. But this create a clip, there is no secondary function, right? So it's just the one thing. So it doesn't have 2 panels. Right? This function alone might make it worthwhile for a lot of Twitch streamers. Who's constantly, your only recourse to get a clip made of something amazing that just happened in your stream sometimes is to rely on your viewers or a mod to go hit that clip button for you. This puts it in your own hands, so you can do that on your own. So where are we? Twitch. The big thing, now I already have this button configured, but again, this is probably one of the high power things that made me want to buy a Stream Deck. Like, I struggle to get my announcements out between starting the live stream and getting it out, and back when like streaming was not that great a technology, and there were things like I had to learn to like wait like 2 minutes to feel comfortable that my stream was stable before I announced to the world that I was live. And then, in that 2-minute time, again, you may move away from the stream PC, right? So getting the announcements out and getting it out to Twitter and to Facebook, sometimes I was like starting the live stream on the PC, going over to the console, getting the announcement out on my phone, or like it was a whole mess, right? So again, one of the big reasons why I bought this is like now, like I generally sit in front of the PC to start the live stream from the OBS application, but then I make my shift, go sit in my comfortable gaming chair or whatever, and do most of everything else from the Stream Deck. I then, start the recording, I make the announcement that I'm going live on Twitter. I wish it had a Facebook announce button. That is another thing. Generally, I pre-type that on the PC, and as soon as I hit the starting the stream button, I do the Facebook announcement. Because the only place I announce it is in the NLS group, and you guys are all streamers too, so you're understanding if you go to a link and like you see like a stream that's actually broken, right? You guys do this enough yourselves to be forgiving of that. But the Twitter announcement is a bigger deal. So again, I have the integration. So I entered my Twitter account information, configured the button, type up my text. For a long time, this blasted text box was still limited to 140 characters after Twitter expanded it to 280. So that was a particularly frustrating period of time to go through with the Stream Deck, because even though I had the Stream Deck, I wanted to write longer form messages, and so I went back to doing it like on a PC or on a tablet or on my phone, so that was a little aggravating. But they've since updated it, so it has that now. Here's the big thing that I love. You can also, because I don't know about you guys, so like one of the most frustrating things in the world as a streamer is flipping YouTube and Twitch as well. I don't know why it is between YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, they can't get their crap together so that when I put a link in my tweet, it shows like the most up-to-date dashboard information that I filled out for my live stream. So, and same in Facebook. So Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. Whenever I make a going live announcement for YouTube or Twitch on Twitter or Facebook, and I hit that link, it always shows like the information for my live stream like 2 freaking weeks ago. And I don't understand what the problem is. So a lot of times when that happens, what I have historically done is I have replaced whatever Twitter and Facebook, and Facebook is better. Twitter is definitely the worst of the two. On Facebook, you still get some weird stuff. With Twitch, with YouTube, it tends to always be correct. So in a lot of cases on both Facebook and Twitter, I replace whatever Twitter would automatically put in based on my Twitch link with a photo. I just go out to the web and grab some generic photo of the game that I'm actually going to be playing. I mean, you guys have seen my announcements on NLS. And I put that in here. So one of the things I love with this button is it doesn't just allow you to configure the text for your tweet. You can also do an attachment. So you can hit this button. It's not what I wanted. So, all right. So I can go to this web publishing folder where I have all my assets for my live stream. And I can go into the stream photos file, right? Or, and I can grab, a thing for a game. So I've been playing Black Ops 4. I can grab that JPEG. Or, I can go in. What's the other one I was going to grab? Or I can go in and like grab my branding thing, right? My For Love of Game banner, right? And I can put that in there. And now when I hit that Twitter button, it will make an announcement. So let's do one right here, right? So if any of you are live and you want to go to my Twitter feed, right? I'll grab the link for you here real quick if you don't already have it. That's not what I meant. I'll drop that in the tutorial chat. Right, so if you guys go there, what I will do is I will configure one here. This is a test tweet from the Elgato Stream doing the okay, so now that's configured, right? And if you are over on my Twitter feed, hopefully this will work. So one of the things you can watch for, because it's going to go quick, is when you hit that button, you're going to get a little rotating clock animation that confirms that it goes out. If it fails, what you'll get is you'll get a hazard symbol with an exclamation mark in the middle. One which I got quite a number of times last night that made me angry, but so let's hit and it looked like it didn't work actually. Flippin' A. I don't know why, but hold on a sec. Nope, that is not the last thing. All right, so give me just 1 second. Sorry. So somewhere in here, I lost the Elgato Stream Deck integration with my Twitter account, so let me re-enable it really quick. But in order to do that, I gotta type in my very long and laborious password. I don't want to open up my password file and have it potentially display on the screen. And of course, the problem with that password is in the file, I can not always tell whether something is one character or another. Hopefully that'll work. Nope. Nabbit. I'm hoping I don't get locked out of my account. Well, this is really disappointing because it would have been pretty cool if that had gone off the way it should have. You better. Okay, good. So my password file popped back up at the place it was last, not into the live stream. So this should be easier. What? Oh, no, that wasn't the problem. Problem is I didn't have my Twitter username entered correctly. Okay. So let's try it again now that I think I have the integration correct. Sorry about that. Okay, so you're getting the round, right? You got the progressive clock thing. And then if you're sitting on my Twitter feed, you may need to refresh the page. So you should see that just went out. I don't know why it went twice. So it looks like it was already in the queue, but it needed me to re-enter the password. I don't know why. But yeah, that's one of the coolest things that I actually use the Stream Deck for. Let's go ahead and... So now if you use voice mod, I've been playing around with this for production differentiation in my live stream. I don't have voice mod on right now, but generally what I will do is I will set it up, and what I will do is I will configure this button to activate the voice changer. So Voice Mod is a application that has like a modulator, kind of like think auto tune, but it will change your voice into like a baby voice or like a super deep voice or an alien voice or a woman's voice or whatever. It's kind of funny to play around with. I will say I find it very hilarious to hear me going through my spiel on live stream in a baby voice. So speaking of which, so that voice mod integration is a thing that was not in the default stock set that comes with the Stream Deck application out of the box. In addition to all the things that I've showed you, you can also configure other things. So you hit this More Actions button, right? And other integrations become available that you can then install. Now, what we can do first is we can see which ones I already have installed on this instance of Stream Deck, and you can see that I have Voice Mod. The analog clock, you can decide whether or not to use this one or not. I was a little frustrated. I have this one installed, and I used to use it, and the problem... Actually, I uninstalled it, so... Yeah, this installed view doesn't do anything. It just sorts it. It's not like it's an individual view that only has the stuff that you have installed. I had this analog one installed, and it worked for a while, and then I looked at the clock one time and could see that it was not actually advancing in time. So it's like it would have the time whenever I opened up the Elgato Stream Deck application, but it wouldn't continue to live update. I don't know why. So again, there's different things there. I don't know what this audio input one does, but you can see your current CPU usage. Again, if you have a PC that maybe isn't a top-of-the-line PC that you're using as a streaming PC, right? We have all these discussions all the time about like what impacts CPU utilization during a live stream. You can actually hit this button and see if your CPU usage is pegging. This companion button, again, is not something that I use. I don't know why you need the counter key. You could use this delayed text input if you had macros and stuff configured. I don't know. Memory game, mix it up. A lot of this stuff, I don't really know why you would need it. Mix it up is a bot for Mixer that you can activate. There's some things that you can use here for games. If you use Shadow Play, for you guys who have NVIDIA cards, you can bring that in. The stopwatch function is something that I might eventually bring in. Because again, sometimes when I do game captures, I want to time myself to keep my episodes to a certain length. Here's a big one for you guys who use Stream Elements. Again, you can install this, and I guess it gives you additional maybe functionality, maybe over on top of the other ones that you guys saw in the dropdown. I don't really know because I don't use it. This is one that I've been particularly interested in, but in order to utilize it, you have to install another application on the PC. But I think this is a thing that turns your... I need this, though. This is a thing where you can configure some of the buttons to be actual studio audio meters. So you can see what your voice level is in comparison to the in-game audio. That is a visual cue I could definitely use. What I'm doing now is I'm actually using a hardware sound mixer, which I've used before, but I didn't used to bring the in-game audio through the mixer. Now I am bringing the in-game audio through the mixer so that I can control it there. But if you're not, you may want to look at Voice Meter and see if it's a thing that you would want to use so that you can see your console's in-game audio meter in comparison to your own voiceover commentary. And this is that voice mod, which I do currently have installed. So there's additional extensions that you can bring into this. So that about covers it, guys. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm going to let that question hang in the air for about 60 seconds or so before I wrap up this tutorial by talking about and walking you guys and then demoing this animation button that I have configured. So 60 seconds on the clock for anybody who has any specific questions before I move to wrap things up. Okay, let's go ahead and wrap things up then. This is probably one of the most powerful configurations that I have enabled. However, it was a lot of work to get it to work. I could probably replicate it pretty easily now. So this is more so a sample of the types of things you can put together. I don't know that you're going to use all that frequently. But there are all sorts of various ways and different services that are out there for you to sign up for. Some of them are for pay services to get animated overlays going on top of your in-game play. One of the things that I've done is I've actually built that as an executable script, so to speak, into an Elgato button. So I have this animation configured where I have, I can't show you my OBS config right now, but I have this configured into a main scene, and then I have a OBS source, right? Because we talked about coming back up here and using this source thing. So this is an example of that. And what I did was I went out and I got a GIF of a dancing orangutan, and I configured that as a source, as an image file, right? And then I also grabbed some music from a YouTube video and brought that in as a browser source. And then I nested both of them together under this group in OBS that I call Animation 1 Aggro. And then I configured that, and then I selected that as a source for this source OBS Studio button. So what will happen is when I hit this button, you will see the GIF of the dancing orangutan come across the screen, and you will hear a song being played. Now, like I said, my concern is whether or not this kicks off any filtering. So even if it gets filtered, I'm getting it on my local recording. So again, I may have to repost the video if it gets pinged. So I'm going to go ahead and set that off and probably let it play for a few seconds because I don't think I'm going to be able to hear it because I'm going to have to, in order to not have it come across the mic. Actually, I will be able to hear it. So have fun enjoying this demonstration of what all you can do with an Elgato Stream Deck. If you have any questions and you didn't get a chance to ask them here, or if for some reason I lost the chat feed, which that sometimes happens, and I missed your question, just reping as a comment below this video, or reach out to me on Twitter, or whatever. You got like 99 different ways to get a hold of me. So until next time, happy hunting, take care of yourselves, stay safe out there, play the games that you like, and stream the games that you love. Once again, my name has been Agasically Stamus from the Rounding Off Affinity Gaming channel on YouTube, the E2KG Network podcasting channel on YouTube, and this here group on Facebook, Next Level Streamers. That's going to do it for me. Until next time, good night, good luck, and good streams. But stick around for the animation. Okay, we're going to try that one more time. I apologize. I actually don't have it configured in this scene. I guess I could probably... I'm going to see if it's easiest. No. So I'm going to pop us over to the other scene and then demonstrate it that way. I apologize. I believe it is working. I just have it in the other scene. So bear with me when I do this. You may not see me, you may not even be able to hear me, but it may also move a bunch of stuff around. So, 2019 main scene. Nope, you can see me and you can hear me, but I'm going to mute the mic and then we'll pop off the dancing ape.
Talking Talking in my sleep at night, making myself crazy. Out of my mind, out of my mind. Wrote it down and read it out, hoping it would save me. Too many times, too many times. Talking in my sleep at night, making myself crazy. Out of my mind, out of my mind. Wrote it down and read it out, hoping it would save me. Too many times, too many times. Talking in my sleep at night, making myself crazy. Out of my mind, out of my mind. Wrote it down and read it out, hoping it would save me.